Hi there, I'm Richard Hill, the host of eCom One. Welcome to episode 182. Now, in this episode, I speak with Paula Short. Now, Paula was one of our very first guests way back when in 2020, episode 15, when she was running Beauty Boulevard. Now, she heads up our own consultancy, helping brands and business owners as a trusted advisor. Now, Paula steps through a lot of things in this episode, the journey of exiting Beauty Boulevard, talking timings, the ups and downs that followed, and a successful exit and what's next. Paula discusses where many companies can go wrong. Paula discusses where many companies may go wrong with their strategy, where to spend your marketing budget, and the big one, improving that valuation. And of course, so much more in this one. If you enjoy this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening to this episode so you're always the first to know when a new one is released. Now, let's head over to this fantastic episode. Well, we're back with Paula Short today.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for inviting me. Very happy to be here.
No problem. I'm getting flashbacks of about 3.5, 4 years ago when we did this, or we attempted to do this several times.
Let's just pray it's not as chaotic as last time. Just pray.
I think we had builders and internet issues last time, but 3.5, 4 years later, we've got a bit more tech now. So hopefully...
Very slick. This is beautiful. Beautiful.
So it's almost like literally like a lifetime ago in the worlds that we both operate in, nearly 4 years ago. Obviously, we were very much talking about beauty products and Beauty Boulevard back then.
And then the world just went.
Yeah.
And it just stopped. Literally stopped. Yeah. Beauty didn't, well, especially the beauty products we were doing, they didn't get much use in lockdown, really, did they? Glitter and things like that. But
party products, yeah. So obviously a lot of change since then. So I think it'd be good for you to reintroduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay.
And then maybe step us through that, from Beauty Boulevard to today, and then we'll dive into some specifics.
So Beauty Boulevard, probably one of the most proudest things I've ever done. I truly am delighted that happened. And Rachel DeCo and I, she was my business partner, we incorporated the business back 2013. And within a year, we were in VIP festivals with all the celebrities through hard work and tenacity and just being bulldogs and going for it. And then move on to February 2020, just before COVID. I sold my shares in the business about 8 weeks before COVID, which I felt enormous guilt for, because I'd grown this business and it was doing really, really well, like really well. The last meetings I'd had were with Walgreens, Walmart, because we were just going into America. I did a big showcase piece in New York in February 2020. So we were going places, and the company I sold to wanted the whole thing. I was being kept on as a brand director and a 10% shareholder, but they bought the entirety, really, of the business. And literally the world stopped. And no one saw it coming. Nobody saw that coming. And I felt enormous guilt for a while, because I wanted to prove to these people how good the business was and how good we could make it. And, we were talking huge shelf space in some of the biggest retailers in America. And it just stopped. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I'll be totally honest. I'd worked just tirelessly, crazy. I was probably burnt out. If I'm being really honest, I was utterly burnt out. So COVID probably was a blessing to me in a way. But I was devastated, and I was, sad that this had happened. So we carried on, and we tried, and we adapted to the market. But now I don't have anything to do with Beauty Boulevard. I've stepped away completely. I resigned as a director. And I actually took, I'd say, 18 months off to I threw myself back into the salon. So I still have the salon with Rachel DeCo in town.
In Lincoln.
Bennett's Hair and Beauty in the centre of Lincoln, for anyone that wants to know. Very good staff. And I threw myself back into that and wanted to just get some headspace back and get some, know who the heck I was again, because this
roller coaster.
Oh, it wasn't like I slowed down. It just stopped. And All the travel stopped, everything. I know I'm not on my own. Everyone did this. But I threw myself back into the salon and love it. I love it. As I say, I get my energy from people, and I love seeing all the customers. And I think the hairdressing side of things and customer facing is a kind of consultancy in itself, because you are a therapist and you are a service supplier and all of that. And I absolutely adored it. But I've stepped away from that now as well, because I fancy a change.
Oh.
Dun, dun,
dun. Dun, dun. What could that be?
So I'm going to do business consultancy more. I've done some already.
Yeah.
But I've decided that I'm going to do that more, because that's where my passion is.
Yeah.
That's what gives me energy, and that's what gives me joy. I know that sounds really kind of I don't know, soft, but I do love it. I adore helping business grow, and it's very easy as well for me to come in having had the tears, the burnout, the challenges, we managed to get Beauty Boulevard global, Australia, Sweden, Italy, Germany, USA, Sophia. You just mentioned Sophia before we started. We had a distributor there. Airlines around the world, Jet2.
I remember that.
Harrods in London, Topshop.
So in terms of helping businesses,
I know the pain.
Just from the little I know about your business and what you're saying now, obviously starting a brand from scratch, managing, running that for many, many, many years. Obviously pitching on Dragon's Den, which we talked about last time. We won't talk about that too much, because you talk about that all the time, I'm sure. Listen to episode 15 if you want to hear about that. But obviously that journey, selling the business and then obviously a very difficult time to navigate and manage that process in the depths of what was obviously, a shocking time for certain industries. Travel, you couldn't go out of the house, let alone get on an airplane, or couldn't go out to, obviously a lot of your products were on airlines, I remember that well. And then obviously a lot of your products are party products, party products. And obviously you couldn't leave the house. So obviously you can do a little bit of partying with your other half for a week or three, but after a year or so, you get a bit fed up doing that.
No. Well, nobody knew what loungewear was until COVID. Loungewear became an actual section on online shopping. Up until that point, it had been pajamas, really, and slouch around in your PJs. So we went from glittery festival products to loungewear. I was like, that's the complete opposite of what the sales are. So the whole horizon of shopping online changed completely.
It totally did. I mean, obviously the different clients that we were with, seeing the trends just completely flip on their head, really, and obviously a lot of home business products that for the home, the house, the garden, went crazy. Whether that's a barbecue, a kitchen, a bit of lino, from all the house stuff, garden stuff, but just crazy. But obviously anything to do with entertainment, anything to do with going out, basically, clothes, makeup, obviously the list goes on and on. Obviously it was just tipped on its head. So obviously the amount of people that have either pivoted into something else that's then become something, or just completely flipped and changed into something else.
It's like the world was grabbed and shook a little bit, and then we all had to find our feet again. Yeah,
I mean, I would say there'd be nobody listening that didn't have that experience, whether it was good or bad or in the middle sort of thing. I remember it too well. It was, we did okay in terms of the commercial side, but day in, day out, it was like flipping out what's going to happen this week. And there was just like uncertainty. This client's run out of stock, and that's the client that pays us X, and they've got some more stock, yay! They're going to keep doing, So just a lot of uncertainty, but that was obviously across the world, so it was quite tricky. But obviously now then, so consultant, strategist, with obviously all that experience, so many different elements of running a business, so many different facets, from starting and just, right, we're going to start this thing, to then getting that first order, and then there's, then the second order, then the 1,000th order, and doing deals with multi-chain stores in one country and then other countries, and getting investment and selling the bit, all these different strands that you've had experience with. Obviously amazing opportunity for business analysts to work with you. So what are some of the things you're seeing in businesses where you think them are mainly going wrong? What are some of the things that, you see time and time again where quite a lot of businesses make mistakes?
I think, to me, the main thing, and I say it over and over, is know your customer. Know, and you might think you think you know your customer, but really know your customer and dig down into your data to know how they buy, what they buy, when they buy, what is it they like, how they react to your communications. Know your customer. So I'd never say that someone is doing something wrong, because I know what it's like to be in a business, and the path for you to follow is there, but because you're in the business, you can't see it so clearly. So having someone like me come in that don't have any of the pain points, don't have any of the issues, I can actually clear that path and say, come this way. This is the way you need to go. And I think that, to me, is what good consultancy is. It's not telling you what to do. It's guiding you so that you can do it, and you can do it again. And I understand, we used to try and get help in because we grew rapidly, and there was a lot of pain around that to grow, and staffing and storage and things like that. I think to have the people come in and help was great, but I didn't have the capacity or time to implement the things that they told me, because you're still keeping the machine running. So I'm quite a realist. So the ideas, the ideas I give are actually doable, rather than giving you, pie in the sky.
Some theory or very untouchable, unrealistic.
I tend to, so the companies I've worked with, I've said, who do you want to target? XYZ. Why? Because we'd like them. That's not a good enough answer. No. Who have you worked with before? Let's see what you've done, what's successful within your customer base, and then we can replicate that. That's the easiest one to get people to buy into. So I don't think business do it wrong. I just think they're busy and tired, and they just need someone with energy to come in. And by having somebody come in with a clear mind and energy, they get energy as well.
Yeah, I think that it's challenging, isn't it? As we know, as a business person, you want to do this, this, and this, and you want maybe some advice. Obviously, finding the right advisor, trusting somebody to then open the book on your business to that individual. So I think you've got to be quite cautious who you open the book to your business on. Is that the right way around? I think so. And then obviously you really got to have that experience to be able to help you. And obviously that's where, you've got that. So are you working purely with sort of different types of businesses that sort of resonate, or?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So I'm doing this because I really, truly want to help people. I don't necessarily want to grow an empire. I don't want to grow a huge business again. I want to make what I do matter, and I want to see a difference in what I do. So the companies I'm working with, we've had good success from, and I know from feedback, the energy I bring is a really positive thing, and it continues on for quite a while. And I think sometimes it is energizing the team that people have, so that they can see and get the buzz around the office again, get the buzz going. To why? Because I think sometimes you can just get in a little bit of a rut. So if you've got someone who comes in with the ideas and the energy, it's a little bit of a win-win.
Yeah, I think, I know obviously we'll have however many people listening right now. And I think, one of the best investments we make in our business is the consultants that we work with. And that, what you said there's that, like the last 3 months when this episode airs, it will be, first 3 months of 2024. And in most businesses, it's either a really busy time or not. Yeah, that sounds a bit weird, but obviously, if you're a Christmas type product selling eCom for gifts and stuff, then it's like quite a challenging time. January, your invoices are then maybe due from November, December. You've had a really good time, Christmas, but then come out of January, hang on a minute, these 60-day terms are due. We've now got to find, whether that's 50k or 5 million quid, whatever your numbers are, whoever's listening. But then February, March is like, it can be quite challenging, but busy time, either good or bad. We find, with most of our clients are either flying or it's challenging, but not challenging because the businesses are bad. It's just challenging time of year. So then our business, it's very busy. It's the busiest time for us is January, February, March as an agency behind the podcast, and then So we've just gone through this very busy, very, very busy period. but some of the things we layer into our business around training and having external consultants come into the business sort of helps us get through, So I would really implore our listeners that are running businesses or managers in businesses to get external experts.
I do think that it grounds you.
Yeah.
It gets you to understand your business again, because I think, I don't mean it in a bad way, but people can get a bit flappy.
Yeah.
And I was one of them. This is why I know I'm the one that would be scared. I've cried over my business. I have had temper. I've had to bite my own fist over that, just all of the emotions.
Yeah.
This is why I understand. So this is why I don't give people huge challenges to meet. But I think having somebody come in and just ground you again and say, it's okay, breathe. This is normal. You're not on your own. You're not isolated. And this is how we're going to get through it. Have we thought? And just doing that mind mapping and thinking, they go, I forgot I used to do that. And I think sometimes it's just that re-energizing and getting people to look back. People are always looking forward. But I think if you look back, and especially at the beginning of your business, that's when you had the most energy. So look back at why and how you did things, and you go, actually, that was very clever that I did. And tap into you again. I'm giving consultancy for free here now, aren't I?
But it's so true. I mean, I think everyone, we all do it. I do it as well, but, I know I should do, right, next, hang on a minute, just have a breath. Right, get your senior team together, get your management together, even you and your, depending on the format of the business, and think, right, guys, let's just celebrate.
By the way, this is very easy for me to say, having taken a nice long break, and I'm like chilled out and everything. Had you spoken to me at the height of the business, I'd have been like, can you make your sentence quick? For goodness sake, I'm too busy. So
I mean, I think anybody that's been in business for more than probably 4 or 5 years will have had that insane upside, hopefully, and an insane nearly on your arse, literally, right, I'm off the Mackies on to get a job, So, I think most owners, 100% hands are way up in the air for me, but having those people around you that you can trust, that you can just have, I akin it to like a therapy, is how I look at it. We have a few different people we work with, and one guy's worked with us, for example, for 10, 11 years, maybe a bit more, comes in once a month, spends a couple of hours with me, and then the rest of the day split between our senior management team. And then he works on a few other initiatives around appraisals, and then he comes in every 3 months and does a talk around different sort of personal development.
Fantastic.
But I think the challenge is choosing is choosing a consultant to work with.
But that investment by you guys, it just keeps you on track. It's a continuous touch point all the way along, rather than waiting for everything to go wrong and bring someone in, which is fine as well. But if you get somebody in quite regular, it makes it far more successful. Far more successful, because exactly. And if you let it go, it's hard to get it back.
I think what advice would you give to people listening that maybe haven't took the plunge to invest in a consultant, a strategist, somebody to help them? What would you say to them about sort of taking the plunge to choose a consultant to work with on a regular basis to come into the business?
I think it's very much a personal thing. I think if you resonate with the person, if you have a good relationship with the person, and they will have your best interests at heart. I would hope any consultant coming in has your interest at heart. You are the customer. So as long as the relationship's fine, I think you can grow together. I think if you're jarring, stop. But to me, getting somebody in to help you with their business is the same as making sure your branding is on track, making sure you have running water in the office. To me, it's one of the basics, because you only know what you know. And until somebody comes in and gets you thinking and gets your brain fired in another way, I don't think you'll evolve, really, because you only know what you know.
I think you can get real blockers in a business as an owner and a manager of a business, and just a little, maybe can even be a 15-minute conversation with a consultant, just to maybe have a bit of an unload and then unpack, and then think, well, actually, you maybe did have the answer, but you've been turned it into this big thing. But actually, let's just calm down a bit. Let's just step through it. Let's just talk it through. Actually, just move on, and that's what we're going to do next.
Yeah, it is. I think it's just sharing the problems, and Yeah. And then obviously I have all the solutions.
Of course. So, I mean, we could talk about all sorts today. And I think I'm trying to think of the best way to, your experience. Obviously, you're now helping businesses. Our listeners are e-commerce stores. Obviously, you've sold nationally, internationally. We've listed it a few times now. But let's say one of our listeners' e-com store, they've got their own brand products, which is what you did for many years with Beauty Boulevard. Am I saying it right?
Yep, Beauty Boulevard. Yeah, you're sounding whatever. I know what you're talking about. It's fine.
So there'll be a little edit there, Dad. He sometimes winds me up and leaves them in. Yeah,
leave it in, Dad. Leave it in, Dad.
So, obviously, creating a brand from zero, establishing it, getting national, international press coverage, that type of thing, and then getting it, listed in, all the stores that we could list and the airlines. Let's say somebody listening in is trying to get, say, first of all, they're trying to get their products listed in supermarkets. What advice would you give to those guys?
My first question would be why.
Yeah.
What is it you're trying to achieve? Why do you want it there? Because that it's a big step, which we did do with Superdrug and with Boots, but we were a tiny cog in a massive machine. So it's great to get into these stores. But once you put your product on that shelf, I struggled to find my own product in there. And you're competing massively in this huge store where people, it is a brand builder, definitely, but it's also tricky. And if you don't have the turnover of stock, you might not last. So not only have you put out all the money for the stock, you'll have to pull it all back again if it doesn't work. If it works,
the terms they'll want.
Exactly. But this is why you have to know why you're doing it. So I'd rather take on 10 stores within Tesco or Boots, or do 10 really well and measure it, rather than do 50 or 100 or whatever. But I trial certain stores first and do it really well and cut your teeth and understand, and then go for bigger.
Yeah, because there's quite a few things there, isn't there? When you think about, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about terms, and we're very firm on our terms, and it's either take it or leave it. And I know supermarkets can be very much, I believe, can be like, their terms aren't that favourable, I think. It would be probably a bit of an understatement.
There's a huge percentage taken for products that go in there. So it is, if when you pay £10 for a product in Boots or Superdrug or somewhere, the person who made it does not get £10.
No,
not at least. I'm not going to talk details, but and the money that you do get has to take all shipping, any fees. If your barcodes haven't worked or something like that, you pay the fees, and then if it just genuinely doesn't work, it all gets sent back, and you have to refund any payments they've done. So I think why is always, I think. Everyone wants to grow their business, of course, but there's a sweet spot that you don't need outside financing too much. Obviously, we need a bit of financing, but you don't need too much, and you actually really enjoy. I think if you over push yourself, over finance, over promise, you start to the business owns you rather than you own the business, and it gets hard. It just gets hard. Those
sort of things are going to keep you up at night, aren't they? When you're...
That's what makes me cry or made me cry. I'm not crying anymore. I'm loving what I'm doing, but I can,
I just wanted to introduce you very quickly to our sponsors, Pricing. Now, Pricing is a competitive price tracking and monitoring software that can dynamically change a product's prices on all sales channels. They work with brands such as Samsung, Sony, Suzuki, to increase their online revenue. Now, if you run Google Shopping, which I know a lot of you absolutely do, this software is absolutely key to accelerating profits. One of the reasons I recommend Pricing to my clients is because you can find out your competitors' pricing and stock availability all in one simple to understand dashboard, giving you a huge competitive advantage. Now, if you have any inquiries and questions about this software, or you're ready to get cracking, we have worked out a very, very special deal for our listeners where you can get a free month's trial and then 25% off for the first 3 months. Head to ecom1.com, pricing, and complete the inquiry form, and we will connect our listeners to the pricing team. Right, let's head straight back to the episode. Obviously, getting into supermarkets is one thing, but getting into the airlines and into airlines is one thing, and then other countries. Let's say you're a merchant in the UK. Obviously, a lot of our listeners are in the UK, but they are worldwide. To then establish your brand and then to try and establish it in other countries and different airlines that are flying your products all over the world. What advice would you give to those guys?
So when we went to other countries, we did beauty shows within the UK.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of foreign buyers from all different countries that will come to see what's relevant, what's new, what's current. We also went to beauty shows in Italy. We went to some of them here at the NEC or in London are big. But you go to Bologna or somewhere in Italy, they're humongous, and so you get a lot of interest that way. So they're great for growing your brand, but you need to be ready for the growth as well. Yeah. So, you might go, oh, it'd be great if we get 10 people interested. And then you go there and there's 100 people interested. And it's the admin of it, it's the maintenance, it's the relationships, it's all of it. So you need to be ready for what could happen. So they're a great way. And the great thing with the airlines as well, we didn't realise that we had created products that were quite small, so they don't take up that much space in the tray, which that was luck. That wasn't planned on our part. Yeah. And the airline is brilliant that people aren't on their phones. There's no Wi-Fi. Yeah. So everyone picks up the magazine. Yeah, everybody. 100%. And they flick through it. And so as a brand builder, it was great. Plus, you had people flying from different countries on that plane. So it wasn't just one country that you were showcasing to. It was flying to lots of different countries around Europe. So for us, it was a fantastic brand builder, really good. And I think out of 35 beauty products, we were number 8. Wow. Small team of 5 people from Lincoln.
Your products on there.
It's still on.
I'm trying to remember.
It's still on there. I don't have anything to do with the business now, but it's still on there. And I'm very proud of that.
That is so good, Paula. I do remember looking at it I'm sure it was after we were trying to remember now, but looking at it thinking, oh my God, this is so cool, and your products were there, and I was flying to wherever.
Can you imagine how I felt? I went on there and I was like, I wanted to nudge the lady next to me. That's mine. I thought she's going to go, yeah, of course it is, love. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was uber excited. I took a selfie with it. It's like...
That is great. So obviously any of our listeners looking to grow into other countries and to... list your products, some great insights there. I think the trade shows, that's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because we talk about trade shows a lot on the podcast and how, we're a massive believer in going to them. But obviously going to them maybe in different countries and you're like, wow, you're used to maybe what you're used to in your industry here or whatever country you're listing at. But then you venture, maybe it's just across wherever to somewhere in Europe or a different, state in the US, wherever it may be. And it's like, wow, I've been to some trade shows in Berlin before and it's literally like, oh my gosh, I've been to Vegas 20 times, probably back in my previous business, about 10 times. I went 15 times. There's a CES show in January, which is a huge electronics show. It's just like, wow. And I remember I saw one thing with a friend of mine and that thing became a business for me for 3 years. Did digital photo frames. If you remember back in the day, most people had a digital photo frame in their front room with a memory card in, a button, and it would roll around. And then I brought containers, and that was my life for sort of 2.5 years-ish. And that came from a trade show,
Yeah, there can be a moment where it's
you just spot something, or you have one chance conversation, like obviously you had, but you've obviously got to be ready then for, as you say, you're expecting maybe, if we get maybe 5 or 10 good leads, bang, you come back with 100 new opportunities, but then it's managing those, following up and not letting stuff drop.
So before we go to a trade show, we'd have all the thank you emails. So we had them all lined up. Yeah. That when we'd fill the data in, thank you for visiting our stand. Here's some more information about us. And then when there was a reply to that, we'd have another email already set up. So it was just having everything ready in advance of the show. So not just up to the show. There's a lot of work, and then there's a lot of work. If you do it right.
They can be expensive, can't they? Trade shows.
Extremely,
or very. Yeah. We've sort of had a lot of meetings around trade shows. We did several last year and some great, some really poor, and so obviously trying to balance that pipeline is we've spent this but got this, and we spent this and got this, but it's so.
It's
I
luck.
think it's quite
Sometimes
unpredictable.
it's luck. It depends who's there. It depends who's walking by. It depends what they're looking for.
It's graft, isn't it? Trade shows.
It is.
And you've got to be machine mode.
Yeah.
You can't sit down on your chair.
I used to have porridge in the morning because I knew I wouldn't eat all day. So I wanted like a slow releaser sort of thing. But it looks so glamorous. The beauty shows look so glamorous. And then we're in the back eating a sandwich really quickly just to, get... Oh, it's hard work. But hey, we used to party hard at night time. We loved that. So it was great.
Yeah, I think my team could attest to the partying on the, I've told them we're doing less shows this year. They're like, oh. So, obviously some great advice there from the front line. But I think there'll be a lot of people listening in that are having tough times, and are maybe going through, when we look at that entrepreneur journey, and it can be interesting times at times, to say the least. What advice would you give to people that maybe are really struggling at the moment?
I think be nice to yourself and take a break. I know you think that everything will implode if you took a day off, but it won't. COVID has taught us that.
Yeah.
Just be nice to yourself. And it's very easy for me to say, as I say, I've taken a break. I get it.
Yeah.
But I've read more, and I've kind of invested in myself a little bit more, and I'm really enjoying it. Yeah. And I realised that I know more than I thought I did, and I'm capable of more than I thought I am, because I could just breathe. So I know it's very easy for me to say, not having the pain points of the business and the bills and the staff, and that, well, I understand it. And if I could go back and have a quick word with myself, I'd say, stop, just stop, and take a real day, not half an hour in the pub and then back to work. Yeah. Just take a break, go for a walk, get some fresh air, get outside and just breathe. And then you'll find that you start to invigorate yourself again. And my best ideas come when I'm on holiday. Yeah. And I go, oh, when I get back, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Yeah. And by the time I come back, and it's just that energy, you re-energize yourself. By taking a holiday, you actually do better for your business, I think. Well, it's very hard to do.
More money, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody else said that. But...
Yeah.
No, I'm 100%. I think it's a bit like we were talking about, investing in a consultant strategist to work with you in the business. Just hang on, just stop for a minute and have a chat, or stop and have a break. Whereas if you're just doing the same old, that extra 10, 15 hours you did this week is actually counterproductive. You're doing less work.
Yes.
A little trick that I do when I'm like, do you know what, I'm having a shit day, and it happens. It's not, that is just the reality, isn't it? As a business owner or anybody. And I just get out of the office, like as you say, and I have two things that I'll do. And one is I will go on my phone and I will look at the cinema and see what's on.
Like it.
I don't know if all the team know this, so hopefully they don't all listen.
They're about to find out.
I'm just popping out for a meeting, but maybe think,
for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I'll be 3 hours maybe. It's a long one.
Martin Scorsese, that's what that one is.
We've got an Odeon and an Everyman within 100 yards and 500 yards, so I'll have a little tootle down there. And all afternoon, there's no bugger in there. There's literally nobody in there, and I'll just sit there and have a little bit of a refresh. I'm taken to a different world.
Pulls you out of reality. I am a massive cinema lover, and I'm a massive film buff. You name a film, I've probably seen it. I adore movies since I was a little girl on a Friday night. A little girl, I'm not very much bigger now, but on a Friday evening, my mum used to give me money, and our house was about 7 doors from the cinema. And I go on my own, and I must have been 9. And I go on my own, and I'd sit, and I just watch. I didn't care what was on. I would just watch cinema. I adore cinema. It's my thing. I could watch a movie a night easily. Easy.
So I would advise.
I like that.
To go watch a film.
I love
when
daytime
you're
cinema as well, because you go in and it feels too dark, and then you come out and it's daytime still. It's fabulous.
It is odd. Not odd, but you go in and you're on your own, obviously. So you walk in, you're on your own, and then there's like 3 people in there, or maybe no one in there. The amount of times I've watched a film and I'm like literally the only person in there, and it's like I've got this 100-foot screen to myself for a £7.50, and then I'll tootle back to work at like 4.
You feel refreshed?
Yeah, all sorted. Yeah, had a good meeting. Maybe I don't say that, but so just obviously, and then another one I do is I've got a library card, and I'll just go and sit in the library. But I've got a uni library card because I was an ex-Lincoln Uni student, and I can go and use the library. So I'll just sit in the library where it's just very peaceful. So find a spot that you like, and then walks and things like that. But having that break, because it just can get a bit much at times, can't it?
And I think you actually don't realize the world is actually spinning outside of your spot. You get so engrossed in your business that you forget that there's so much more. And like that, just going to the library and you get that calm, and then you start to notice different things. And and I love going for a walk. I adore going for a walk, and I might put an audio book on, and I just love being in the present, being here and now, and just seeing what's around you. Like springtime is great, so you go for a walk, and I know I sound like David Attenborough a bit now, but that just seeing the world evolving again, no matter what's happened, it all comes back.
I think you can flip yourself out of that funk. Not, I don't want to be too flippant with it, because obviously some people really, really struggle, and of course we all do at times, in the real tough times. But just a couple of 3-hour change of scene, whether that's your cinema, your walk, your fresh air, your little route that you like near where you live, and get out and just come back in the game. You just
feel better. You just definitely, I think just getting out of the house, the office, it just makes you feel better. And I know, like you say, it's easy said. But the world won't implode. No. It won't implode, because as soon as you do one job, there's another one waiting for you. There's another one waiting, and just take a breath.
A lot of different things to juggle as a business owner or marketing manager in a business. What's your sort of go-to framework maybe, or strategy to sort of prioritize things as a busy business owner or a marketeer within a business?
I think from a marketing point of view, to get the most for your money, I still go back to know your customer. If you truly know who your customer is, you know where to target and how to target. So, you're not going to target running shoes at somewhere that people don't have any sport, and it's a nightclub, or vice versa. You're not going to...
Fast food restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll have fast food after the gym. But that's probably a bad example. I don't know which example to give, but I think know your customer, and then use all the free or very cheap channels first, like your social media, emailing, pigeon mail if you wish, reaching out to people, connecting with people on all those forums. Review your competitors, review what they're doing, the hashtags they're using. They might be using hashtags you've never even thought of. I don't believe in doing what your competitors do. I never have, but I'm very aware of what competitors are doing, and competitors are healthy. They keep you on your toes, and they keep you looking at your business and making sure that you are stealth and that you're working as you should. I think strategic targeting of marketing, rather than spreading yourself thinly along lots of different forums. I think you should, again, where is your customer? How do they buy? What do they buy? How do they react to your communications? And start to really look into the data so that you can spend your money wisely, and constant review of your customer experience, their journey on your website or on your, however you sell, and constant review of the data that you've got. How many times has this customer shopped with you? Are you getting customer retention? Just all those things. I think you have we're very lucky that we get a lot of data now. And if we're wise, we use it. And if you use it well, so use as many free things as you can. Networking. Networking's a great one, because unless you're talking to people, you don't realise they might need your product. And they might have a machine that helps you get your product seen by somebody else. So use all the freebie ways first. I'm all for that. I'm really tight when it comes to spending budgets. And then get strategic with your spends. So don't spend for the sake of spending. Spend so that you can target the people that you know who they are, and then you'll get the best from it. And then maybe spend a little bit more next week and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work well, pull it back. Don't do it the week after. So it's just continuous review, I think.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think, obviously, ultimately, you've got to know your customers, those ICPs, and then you've got in theory, a customer base that, you can see the patterns of the things they're buying and obviously improving that customer value and lifetime value. And, in your previous business, it wasn't a one-time purchase, but I guess people were coming back and buying more and more and more and recommending and talking about the products on social that then inspires other people to buy the products.
And sometimes you are sat on a nugget, a diamond, and you don't see it. But when you study the data, you think, actually, we need to give that a little bit more attention because there's a spike over here that we didn't anticipate. Why is that spike there? Or because someone has said something online about it.
Yeah.
Fine, let's start getting that hashtag out because, again, if you're not reviewing it and you're just fulfilling orders, you're not going to get the best from it.
So I think there'll be quite a lot of people listening in that are maybe thinking about selling their business or, getting investment into the business. Obviously, there's two similar but very different at the same time avenues to either inject cash into a business or for an owner to exit the business and inject cash into their personal sort of wealth and their, what advice would you give to people that maybe looking to exit or get investment into the business?
Well, I've only got my experience.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me 2 years prior, I'd have said, no, I'm not selling my business. No, and it's my baby. This is what I do. It was my identity. It was who I was. And I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with an idea for it. And I'd have to have a pen and paper. This is no lie, honestly, it's just ridiculous. A pen and paper beside my bed, because if I didn't get that thought out of my head, I couldn't go back to sleep. And I'd write down the thoughts so that I could just relax. If you'd asked me 2 years prior, I would have said no. I'd never sold my business. I would continue to do what I was doing at, again, an insight. I had a running machine in my gym at home, and I had 4 frames at the end of it. And in those 4 frames was the mission for Beauty Boulevard. And I would run, not very far. I've got short legs. I'd run and I would just read our mission over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I got it into me that this is what I want to achieve. When it actually came to selling, I was so ready. I couldn't wait. I was burnt out. I couldn't have worked any harder than I had done. And Rachel had stepped away from the business about 2 years prior to me selling. And initially I enjoyed the autonomy of it, just going and not having to have a chat about what we're going to do. We were a great partnership and we still are. But initially I quite enjoyed it.
So you just knew at that time then? So that's obviously for all these years, you're building it for many, many years, wasn't it? Many, many years. No intention of selling it, which I think is most, not all founders, but a lot of passionate founders, they're building. But then what was you just burnt out?
I was burnt out. I was completely burnt out. So there was a guy approached me and he used to go to America and showcase brands in America. And he was going to Chicago and New York and he wanted to take Beauty Boulevard brand with him. And he'd asked me 3 or 4 times and I said, no. I said, I don't have the machine in the background. If you go and you get an order, I don't have the capacity. I don't have the capability in the machine in the background to fulfill what it is and funding and everything that goes with it. I said, no, I can't do it. Let me carry on with what I'm doing. I can't do this. But he kept asking, and I said in the end, just scratch that itch, right? I'm going to send you a box, big glittery box, all the products, take it with you, see how we go. And I think he took 5 brands to the US with him, and Beauty Boulevard was the only one people were talking about. So he came back, and that's when they approached me to say, would I be willing to sell shares within the business? And I'm glad I have a little bit of a poker face, not much, because inside I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God. I was like, I'll think about it, yes. And maybe. I was like, oh, please help me, please. Because I was broken. I was absolutely broken. So it was nice when to sell it. It did hurt a little bit when I entered. It was a big company in Manchester. I entered a room to have a meeting and they started talking about Beauty Boulevard, and it was theirs, and I knew it was theirs, and they started talking about it. I was thinking, I don't recognise what they're saying. I don't recognise this brand, but I just had to sit there, and they'd ask me questions about it, and I give the answer, and then they'd say, right, well, we're going to change all this, and we're going to do this, and it was like ripping your house apart.
Yeah.
But I knew for us to grow, it had to happen. But then, as I say, everything, the world stopped. I wish it had continued, because I think I was the brand director. I was only a 10% shareholder at that point, but I was the face that they were bringing to America to sell the brand, because they could ask me a barcode number and I would have known it. I knew the brand so well. And I'm sad that we didn't get to push that last bit to really kind of get into the big players in America, and we were doing really well. There is life after sale, which I thought I just didn't know what I'd do when it finished. I think my advice is, if you're thinking about selling, think about, again, the customer and who other competitors sell to your customers, and perhaps there's a synergy there for selling. Or if you've been approached, I'm a great fan of a SWOT analysis. I think just do a SWOT. And there is life after it. I'd never say to somebody, sell. I knew I was ready. I was ready. I think I maybe have given them a $5 to take it off my hands. I was so broken.
So the sale happened, and then obviously COVID happened. But if you were back just pre-sale now, and this is also to our listeners, what do you think you could have done to maximize, or what would you do now to maximize valuations so that you could have sold it for more? Or looking back, I think, I just think from the founders that are listening in, what sort of things they can be doing to maximize valuation. A lot of people talk about systems and processes, and we talked about now with the customer that's 20% of your revenue and various things like that. Looking back, is there any sort of a couple of nuggets that you think, you really want to make sure this, and this, and you could have maybe maximized the valuation anymore?
I think you've said it in the first one, processes and data. If you have a good database, I know you have GDPR and things like that, but if you have a good database of a good subscription of people, then you can build your brand subtly, constantly, and it's that consistency of business that is so building a business is great fun, and it's really energetic, and you've got this project and hobby that's now your life. The maintenance is really hard. Maintenance is the hardest part of, to me, the business, to just keep everything moving. If you've got processes in place, you can step back slightly. As the owner or the builder or the founder, whatever you want to call it, you'll keep getting dragged back in. There's no ifs or buts about it. But processes is a massive one. And I think data, a good customer base, and retaining that data and reviewing it and looking at it. How can we use it? How can we use it differently? I think building your brand is the main bit. Stock will always be valued at whatever the stock is valued at. Buildings will be valued at whatever the buildings are valued at, and that's a market value. But brand is where I think the value would be, because you have a trust of the customer. You've won people over. You've won buyers over. And that's what they're going into. But again, you need the data of the buyers, the data of the buyer, the customers for your potential buyer to take.
So we've covered a lot of ground, Paula. It's been fabulous to have you back on.
Thank you.
What is next for Paula Short?
So I'm really excited about this next phase. I truly am. As I say, I've taken a break. I've had a little bit of time for me. I've read more. I've travelled more. I was waiting for a spark. You know when you want a new business. And I was waiting for something where I go, that's it. And I've realised it's me that I want to invest in. I know that sounds really weird, but when I've talked to businesses and they tell me what's their problem, I can relate because I've had it, like tenfold. and yet I'm still here. So I'm investing in my consultancy. I'm actually going into business with another person, a very experienced person has exit strategies and has exited a business and grown business. And I think between the two of us, we have a wealth of knowledge. But we're doing it to help people. I don't want to grow another massive business. I don't want to do that because, as I said, there's a sweet spot where you really enjoy your work and there's not so much pressure.
To get the fun back.
Yeah, it's the fun element of it, and actually see people. And if you can help people when they're in their pain area, then that's fantastic for me. I'll go home skipping and I'll be delighted. I'll be delighted with life.
Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on things, and we'll probably get you back on in 12 months so you can talk about some of the things you've been working on.
That'd be fun.
As you might remember, or you might not, we'd like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. With your 18-month sabbatical, you maybe read a few books and had some days on the by the pool with the camp chair, whatever you call it. Deck chair.
Fiction-wise, I'm actually quite dark. It's Norwegian thriller horror type of, not horror, thriller kind of, crime. I love that.
Yeah.
Norwegian stuff. Yeah. Fabulous. So Joe Nesbo is a great author that I love from that. I've literally read everything that he's done. But from, I've read a lot of just thought-provoking books and just things that get a conversation going between me and my family or me and my friends. And a really old book, and I do love it, is Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. But he also has one called The Present, and I do like those. They're short. They're like 45-minute read, but I reread it over and over. And I do like How to Win Friends and Influence People as well. I do like the basics of human nature, and these books are just about. I go back to I love people. I like the energy of people, and I could never do an isolated job. And these books are just about you being a better version of you, basically. So I think they're my favourites. And I read them over and over, and I read them, and I also do audiobook because I take different things at different times from it.
It's interesting, isn't it? I sort of have it on audio, have it on book, have it on PDF, or have it in a book, a few different versions. The amount of books I've got 2 or 3 versions. And so for those that want to find out more about you, more about the consultancy, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn is probably my easiest format of connection at the moment because I'm still working on showcasing the business, and we're working on our branding and our courses and things like that. So I've worked with a company already this year and thoroughly enjoyed it. The team are more energized, the business is more focused, and it just makes me feel amazing. So that's what I want to do. I want to just kind of help people, but LinkedIn is probably the easiest.
We'll link up your LinkedIn in the show notes.
There you go. And make sure my picture is okay on LinkedIn.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
No, thank you very much for having me again.
Yes. Again. Second time. You're one of 4 guests, I think, that have been on twice.
I feel very honored.
So thanks for joining us in the studio. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast. So you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one.